Good morning, everyone. Okay, so students attending online, please confirm. You can on chat, you can listen to me, you can see the video. Everyone, anyone, please confirm. Okay, chaliye. So now PYQ Mela, as we have started. Okay, in these sessions we are going to discuss the PYQs basically, which would be subject wise, taking up a few years at a time. Let's say in one session it would be possible only to discuss 2 or 3 years of PYQs, but we will have this session, recurrent sessions on Sundays, okay, in which we are going to discuss basically the idea of how UPSC frames the question. We will try to understand that. So the sessions are less about the answers. Of course, answers I'm going to discuss with you, but it is more about how UPSC frames the question. What is the mindset behind framing that particular question? And secondly, most importantly, how to structure those particular answers. So what are the things that should be kept in mind, how we should move with all of this? So first, now starting with the whole idea of, because this is the introductory session, the first session anyways. So first we'll start with the basic idea of writing an answer. What are the elements of good answer? What all we have to keep in mind? So the first thing over here with respect to good answer, when I say the answer is more about structure. So with respect to answer, you have to understand that content, of course, content is always the king, no doubt in that. But the marks that you are getting goes beyond the content. Because at the end of the day, everybody is writing the content. And those who are preparing for 2 years, 3 years, now they have similar content. There is no dearth of content. And with the availability of online resources, especially, the answers have become almost uniform. The content has become uniform. The content that any student in Delhi, any student in Mumbai, any student in Kolkata, what content they have, you also have access to that. So everyone has that uniform content. Content is a prerequisite, that I understand, but more so over how you present it, how you structure it. That's the most important point. So for writing answers, what I want you to do, first of all, to start with, is to create a checklist. Okay, my recommendation, okay, on a blank paper, create a checklist. And whenever you're writing an answer, attempting an answer, keep that checklist in front of you. And just go on checking whether this is okay, this is okay, this is okay, this is okay. And that is when you end up writing good answer. So in the checklist, what we are saying, that first, let's say structure. And structure, when I say structure, is on a very preliminary level. If I say, okay, it should be IBC format, that is introduction, body, conclusion. This IBC format has to be there. Second is paragraphing. Paragraphing, what are the things related to paragraphing? The first thing over here with respect to paragraphing is short paragraphs. That is the first thing to check. And if you are obviously writing short paragraphs, okay, there should be some approximation estimations. So we say that per page there should be 2 to 3 para per page. Try to include 3 paras. If not possible, if you are going with a theme and the para becomes longer also, then also, okay, make sure 2 paras at least are there in one page. Changing the paragraph, always the rule that you are going to follow is proper leaving the space leave the space properly. Okay, leave the space properly in which my answer, how it should be appearing, appearance I'm talking about, is where, let's say you are writing introduction, you always start your paragraph from here. So over here, the whole answer looks like this, let's say, and next paragraph I start from here, not here. Okay, make sure you are doing this. Why? Two things happen over here. The first thing, that is examiner very clearly gets to know that you have changed the paragraph. And secondly, it gives a sense of space in your answer, which brings that neatness, regardless of the handwriting that you are writing, okay, or let's say the spacings that you are creating between the words, between the letters. Okay, this is going to offset those imbalances. So make sure you are doing this. So short paragraphs, 2-3 paragraphs, and spacing. Okay, these are the things that I have to keep in mind, okay, with respect to paragraphing. The third part now, with respect to writing the answer, is your presentation part. So when I say presentation, it's more about first graphical aspect. Graphical aspects में what all I can include over here? Graphical aspects में we can include diagrams wherever possible. Apart from diagrams, I can use flow charts or any other type of chart. So any other type of chart, any diagram that you are going to use, okay, this becomes the graphical representation. Now, when you talk about graphical representation, the best way to do this mainly is when you are talking about these charts. Is what I would suggest, my suggestion is, everyone in the present time is using, let's say, MS Word. Word everyone would be using. So in MS Word, you go to insert section and charts, and it will show you all the available charts. Take a look at those charts. Okay, it will give you an idea of how you can create charts, what can be different types of charts, and from there pick out, okay, at least 7 to 8 charts and note down in your notebook or the checklist. That would be your ready reference. And once you have those 7 to 8 charts in mind, okay, it will very naturally happen that when you are writing something, it will occur to you, possibly I can use that chart or this chart. Okay, it's not recommended that in the examination hall you are sitting and just thinking now what chart I should use. It should be in practice. So this is one way of doing that, one way of practicing it. MS Word is very, very good source for that. So presentation in which graphical diagrams. Second thing, whenever you are drawing the diagram. So whenever drawing the diagram, again, my whole structure of the answer, the presentation of the answer, first rule I told you is this. Okay. Secondly, now when you are drawing diagram, there are few specific requirements. The first thing, because you have paucity of space, definitely space is limited. That's the most precious thing in our answer sheet. So respecting that, the diagrams that I am going to make, the diagram needs to be drawn here, and your answer goes like this. So it very clearly states that this diagram is related to this paragraph, first thing. Okay? See, this is all nothing but MS Word formatting. What we do basically to make it look good. Yes. So these are best practices. And secondly, it is must requirement that if you have drawn any diagram, so let's say I have drawn some rainfall pattern diagram. Now my requirement is to name this. Again is something what examiner is looking forward to. Okay. that diagram you have made, okay. But how, as an examiner, I should make sense ki what you have drawn, what you are referring to. So I have to name this diagram. I have to name this diagram, let's say, for example, rainfall distribution in India. Rainfall distribution in India. Can be anything. It is with respect to every subject. I'm talking about the common themes. Okay, what has to be followed in every subject. So over here, diagram has to be put in the box. Diagram has to be named. It can be map, it can be diagram. If you are drawing a map, you will mention here map instead of figure. Okay, if you are drawing diagram, you mention figure and name it. But everything has to be labeled. What you are trying to name? Huh? Huh? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Go on telling. This diagram would look like, okay, moist air, rising air, clouds, windward side. You have to name it. Okay, diagram has to be labeled anyways. In any case, diagram has to be labeled. Okay, I'm just saying you have drawn this label diagram. You are drawing label diagram. Still you write it over here, figure, orographic rainfall. These are two separate things. This anyways we have been doing. Okay, this naming, labeling, naming of the diagram. Okay? So in any case, if you are drawing this type of diagram, very obviously it is not going to come in the box. So I'm drawing a landscape, but still I'll draw with pencil these lines. I'll draw this, I'll name the figure. In any case, you have to enclose the diagram. So over here, we have the presentation in which we are talking about the graphical diagram flow charts. This is, and the last part over here that I have to deal with is substantiate. Substantiate your answers with data, with findings from reports. Because in every answer it would not be possible. Yes, but still, okay, during the course of your preparation, you know there are some few important reports that I should have read. Like IPCC report, let's say. IPCC report summary, at least I should have the pointers. Economic survey हो गया. Okay, budget document हो गया. Okay, and XYZ, suppose human HDI report aati hai. SDI report is there. So there are set of 5 to 10 reports, the summary of which I should have a printout with me. Okay, and I should keep revising them throughout the year. It is not going to happen overnight. You're not going to remember the facts. And you don't know which fact you will need to use because of the type of question. So this citation, substantiate, I'll call it citation. So substantiate plus citation, reports, findings, statement, and then case study or example. Now these case studies or examples, okay, again from the newspapers you keep finding it. Okay, reading everyday newspaper, Okay, now at this point of time, when you have already completed your 1 year of preparation and all, okay, my idea of reading the newspaper becomes different. Okay, reading the newspaper is not about news for me, is not about this fact coming into prelims or this is going to come in the mains. Rather, those small snippets also, okay, which I can use in my answer writing. That is where something has happened in this city, something has happened in that country. You think of the syllabus, you try to link it, and you take out the case study, note it down in your notes, 2, 3, 4 lines, and case study should be ready. Okay, similarly, statements, when I talk about, okay, statements over here is statements of some very popular people. So statements as in ethics, when you study, in ethics you study the thinkers, you know those statements, and you know the statement based questions do come. Okay, statement by X person, Y person, they ask you to elaborate on it, and those, so that is one aspect of that. Okay, secondly, of course, when you are talking about India, okay, the statements from Prime Minister, let's say, becomes important. Similar to that, case studies. Case studies, there is a very good source, in fact, okay, which is Man Ki Baat. Okay, majority of the people do not listen to it, although. Okay, but we find it very interesting just from the perspective of taking out case studies. So the whole Man Ki Baat is about case studies only. Okay, 1/2 of that whole discussion is dedicated to case studies. This has happened here, this change has been brought here, that change has been brought over there. Okay, and the testimonials of the people. So testimonials of the people you don't need, but at least in terms of name of the places. This is a success story of this place, that place. Okay, that would be very helpful to you with respect to the questions on government schemes, government programs. So these are the main elements, what I say, of a good answer. Okay, answer, I am going to look out for these elements in your answer. If I find it, you are going to get good marks. Note it down, everyone. So this is first of all the checklist we are talking about. Now going beyond that, another aspect is more about ending your answer. Now ending your answer is a very important aspect. Okay, why we are saying so? Because whatever you have written, finally how many marks you are going to get, that is going to be determined by your conclusion also. So even if you have written a mediocre answer but you end it well, okay, it leaves a good impression on the examiner, because that is the last impression of your answer. So types of conclusion, what are the different types of conclusion we write? So types of conclusion, categorizing it, first is called as the summary conclusion. Summary conclusion, where you just summarize what you have written in the answer. So this is the simplest form of conclusion. Okay, if you cannot think of any other conclusion, you go for a summary. And generally summary conclusions would be used for the keywords like describe, explain. So describe, explain, these keywords when come, you can use summary conclusion. Second is what we call as forward looking conclusion. Forward looking conclusion. So forward looking conclusion, futuristic conclusion. Okay, this is where we are dealing with some problem statement. Okay, problem statement, although may not be very necessarily a major issue also, but yet in general type of questions like describe. Okay, describe is one particular keyword where you can use forward looking conclusion. Okay, we'll take up, when we are going to discuss, we'll take up all the conclusions, we'll figure out what type of conclusion it falls under. So forward looking conclusion you are going to use under describe. Then third is prescriptive conclusion. Prescriptive conclusion is where we are talking about the problem statements. जैसे take for example, if you get a question on climate change related question में what I can do is either we can go for forward looking conclusion कि XYZ may happen, we can achieve this, achieve that, or you may directly go with what can be done in the conclusion. So both the cases are applicable for, in fact, I do not find too much of difference between these two. At one point of time, both of these converge. Prescription is about forward looking. Fourth is critical conclusion. Critical conclusion. Critical conclusion where it's cautionary. I'll write critical or I'll write cautionary. Okay, this should be more apt word. Critical or cautionary. Cautionary conclusion would mean what? Where you tell that, okay, if we do not do this, this may happen. If X is not done, Y may happen. Just take for example, recently we got a question on demographic dividend. Okay, demographic dividend mein what is the conclusion that should go? I know what is the conclusion that should go. First thing, I can either go for prescriptive conclusion in demographic dividend, where I can write that to reap the maximum benefit out of the demographic dividend, India should focus on skill development, healthcare, education. Okay, this is what government says. These are the sectors. This is what prescriptive. If I convert it into forward-looking conclusion, how should I write it? Tell me. Any idea? Just think, one situation I have given you, that is demographic dividend of India. One prescriptive conclusion I told you, to reap maximum benefit out of demographic dividend, India should focus on skill development, healthcare and education sector. This is prescriptive conclusion. When you say forward looking, what would we mean by forward looking? So tell me a statement, conclusion statement. Okay, one. Any idea? Try it, there go. Why I have termed it very specially PYQ Mela. Okay, it's a catchy word, more so the whole idea is, okay, this is the place where we are going to discuss, not the place where I'm going to teach. Try anything. If I say forward looking matlab what may happen in the future, positive. Is this conclusion or body? 5-6 lines already gone. Any idea? Conclusion statement. देखो, forward looking conclusion is something where I am putting forward that what I may achieve in future. Correct. So I would put a conclusion like demographic dividend, if managed properly, may help India achieve a position as global leader. One example. You can put it like anything. If I manage demographic dividend properly, then what India may become or what India may achieve. It can be anything. Just say, in case of economy question, you would put it like, if managed properly or XYZ, okay, India may be able to become a $3 trillion economy or $5 trillion economy. This, see, futuristic, correct? Forward looking, what I may achieve. This is where we are saying we are prescribing properly without saying what we can achieve, just saying ki if something has needs to be achieved, this you should do. Prescriptive. Critical. Then there would be aging population, but aging population, see, aging population is a fact you are telling me. Okay, I'm talking about end result. Okay, so this is okay. Okay, when I say yes, I'm saying cautionary. Caution. How do you give caution to someone? That if you don't do this, this may happen. If you don't do that, that may happen. You are not, in fact, also saying that this is going to happen. This will happen to you. That's bad thing. Okay, you can't tell anyone that today you are going to meet an accident. They'll beat you. But when going out, you tell them your near and dear one, okay, that you're going out, okay, on a highway, okay, drive safely, otherwise you may meet an accident. Correct? So you have put this, drive safely, condition, otherwise X. This is critical or cautionary. So in demographic dividend, how will I put it, right? Demographic dividend case mein, how will I put it? Again, people attending online, okay, please keep typing your response. You have to participate. Although you are online, it doesn't mean that you don't need to participate. Try to participate. Okay, you will learn a lot. In your copy, try a critical conclusion for demographic dividend. I told you what is it. If not this not, then that can happen. Rest everyone, type in your chat box. Okay, Hitesh, but proper conclusion. Okay, I have given you a topic, demographic dividend. Demographic dividend of India. What are those 20-30 words that you are going to write? Written? Read it. Absolutely, aim of attaining $7 trillion. It's now $7 trillion, updated one. Acha, okay. So, it's aim of achieving $7 trillion economy would be questionable. What's the caution you have given? Stuck in middle income trap. ठीक है, okay. Another caution. Anyone else? Just tell me the caution. What is the caution? चलिए ठीक है. And then I have the fifth type of conclusion, which is quotation or value based. Quotation or value based. So quotation or value based, this is more applicable to paper 4. Okay, the ethics paper. In here you quote someone, as Gandhi ji said this, okay, as Abraham Lincoln said this, okay, about democracy, let's say. So that is the value based question which are there, okay, which can be there with respect to this particular type of conclusion. Resources or will lag behind many economies with poor demographic dividend. ठीक है, yes, Akash, okay. So over here, these are 5 different types of conclusion when I broadly categorize it. There can be sub classification. I can even identify 10 types of conclusion. But to keep it simple, these 5. Again, the moment you get the question, okay, decide what type of conclusion you are going to write. Kyunki this is reverse thinking. Okay, rather than thinking right there from introduction, body, conclusion, I first think the conclusion. And once you have thought of the conclusion, you know what you have to add in the answer, because that has to be there in the answer. Like if you have said trapped in the middle income trap, this is your conclusion. So you will make sure that in your body, you are discussing this particular aspect of middle income trap. You cannot leave it. So there would be no disconnect. And you know your answer should go with cautionary approach. So the type of conclusion determines the flow of your answer. Conclusion is the repetition. Conclusion is what? Your conclusion cannot be anything new. You can't introduce absolutely something new into the answer. You have discussed it properly, okay, and then you conclude it. Yes. You should try. You should try. So now the caution which is there, it can go with commas. It can result in X, comma, Y, and Z. A summary. It becomes a summary, but you are giving it in the form of caution. Correct? Or the same you can convert into that it has the potential to become X, comma, Y, comma, Z, then it becomes forward looking. Same, almost same conclusion, just the wordings would differ. See, everyone understood this? So these are the different types of conclusions we are talking about, 5 different types of conclusions. So before writing any answer, decide which type of conclusion you are going to give. So from here, everyone has noted down the checklist, noted down the types of conclusion. So now let's move on to the main part, okay, which is the discussions of PYQ. So first session we are going to do world geography part, or physical geography, what we call as the physical geography discussion. Indian geography will separate because that's a different deal altogether. We are starting with this year only, okay, going backwards. The first question which was asked, how are climate change and sea level rise affecting the very existence of many island nations? Discuss with examples. Your approach, the moment I see the question, is first thing to underline in your paper those keywords. What all should I underline? Climate change is one thing. Sea level rise is another. Matlab, island nation is another. And so my answer has to deal with all of these. First thing, I'll go with the IBC. Now, with respect to IBC, when I talk about IBC over here, the whole idea in this case is, if first of all, conclusion. What type of conclusion can be used over here? Decide everyone. What type of conclusion to use? Critical or forward looking? Okay. Cautionary, critical, cautionary. Okay. Forward looking. Forward looking. Chaliye, let's go one by one. Forward looking. What is forward looking in this question? Try 2 lines. What type of conclusion you are going with? Prescriptive, na? Wait, forward looking, forward looking. What will you write as forward looking conclusion? Everyone in the chat also, please keep trying, keep trying. ठीक है, international global efforts for mitigation. Okay. So how come this is forward looking? Controlling measure is not forward looking. You went with cautionary, na? You said forward looking. Okay. What is forward looking statement? Tell me a forward looking statement in this answer. The first thing, you will have to eliminate out the possibility. The only one which could not have been actually used over here is forward looking. You could have used all the other three. Summary you could have used, prescriptive you could have used, cautionary you could have used. This is one thing which is happening. Scientists agree that this cannot be reversed now also. We have reached the tip point. Okay, so at this tip point, it cannot be reversed as well. So if it cannot be reversed, what can be forward looking in this? What will you say कि हाँ ठीक है, okay, island nations डूब जाते हैं तो कोई बात नहीं, बढ़िया है, world map simple हो जाएगा. Forward looking statement. There's nothing positive out of this particular statement based question. Correct? So that is in fact the one you had to eliminate. This is what we are practicing. It will come with practice. Okay, looking at the question, deciding it. One way, yes, prescriptive. Prescriptive is I have to give the prescription because this is a problem statement. Correct? This is a problem statement. They are asking me about a problem. So prescription I can give. Or yes, of course, cautionary I can go, cautionary or critical. That it has to be done, otherwise this will happen, or that will happen. So there are two possibilities in this case. Okay, prescriptive or cautionary. Summary is also always available. See, summary is something which is always available. If you can't think of anything, it's summary. But summary generally, if you know so much of types of conclusion, everything, technicality of answer writing, I would not suggest to write summary conclusion. It's for those who don't know how to write conclusion. Correct, हाँ Akash, developed economies must consider island states in terms of funding and tech transfer in terms of climate change under Paris Agreement. Okay, prescriptive, correct. Hitesh, if we want nations to exist, especially those, the economic method should be adopted and major nations should give them residency like Australia is doing. Okay, nice. Both are prescriptive. See, forward looking is a positive outcome you are talking about. that if we do this, I can achieve that. Something positive. Just we are saying India can achieve 5 trillion or $7 trillion economy. So positive outcome. That is the difference between forward looking and critical. Forward looking में you talk about positive outcome in future. Critical में you talk about negative outcome in the future. Prescriptive में you don't talk about outcome, you just tell what needs to be done. That will become prescriptive. Correct? And a positive outcome is forward looking, and negative futuristic outcome is cautionary. Got my point? So take 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I want you to create the structure. Think from your side only. This is all exercise, mutual exercise we are going to do every time. Just the keywords, IBC structure mein what you are going to write in introduction. Body, how will you divide it? Subparts. Side headings only I want you to write. In conclusion, of course, we have determined what type of conclusion. Take 2 minutes. चलिए, done there. Structure only, structure I need. Tell the structure. ठीक है, okay. General facts. Okay. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So prescriptive conclusion. Facts in introduction. Body. Next. Hmm. Nice. Okay. Okay. Cautionary conclusion. Okay. Hmm. ठीक है. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. ठीक है. ठीक. चलिए. Let's see now. Okay, how to write this answer. So when we talk about introduction is mainly about climate change, sea level rise. Okay, so introduction could have been written that with the present state conditions of climate change and global warming, the sea levels are constantly on rise, threatening the existence of island nations. Yeah, threatening the existence of, if you don't want to repeat the precise word, threatening the existence of low-lying nations. Okay, there is another way also, I'll tell you just after this. Now coming to the body part. Before introduction and the body part, okay, I have this connecting paragraph. Connecting paragraph is going to tell me, okay, how and why sea level rise is taking place. The reason behind. Okay, although the question is not about that, that's why I have included it under connecting paragraph only. Okay, so when you talk about sea level rise, what are the reasons for the sea level rise? Melting glaciers is one thing. And how global warming and sea level change? Okay, one thing. Anything else? नहीं. अभी तो we are talking about why sea level is rising. Okay, and with respect to that, the terminologies. Your connecting paragraph should include global warming, should include melting of glacier, and another very important aspect related to warming of the ocean waters is thermal expansion. In fact, if you study the IPCC report, okay, it talks about major factor being thermal expansion, not even melting of glacier. Okay, thermal expansion. So thermal expansion would mean what? The oceans are becoming warmer, and when you heat the liquid, it is going to expand. So that thermal expansion is the most important reason for sea level rise. correct? These three aspects, thermal expansion, understood the meaning? So these three aspects you are going to include under connecting paragraph. Now coming to the body. So connecting paragraph is always a good idea to write whenever you have a problem statement, especially because in problem statement you will have a reason behind that problem. If you put it in the body, you will not get the space to discuss the issue. So that's where connecting paragraph comes into picture. So keep on noting down these small points that I am telling. Problem statement questions mein connecting paragraph, what would be connecting paragraph? Causes, reason behind the problem. Now under the body, what we are going to do is, the question is asking that it is posing a challenge for the very existence of the island nations, small island nation. Matlab, what would be the impacts on them? The moment impacts come into picture. This is the difference between a good answer, a very good answer, a mediocre answer. Everyone is writing the same points. You have written 8 points, correct? One after another. How I would write, and I would end up getting 2 marks more than you just because of my structure, is where I categorize those pointers. Categorizing the pointers, what is the formula? The formula is PEST. Absolutely. You know this formula. Okay, just that we forget to use it. That's it. In fact, PEST is now extended to PESTEL. What is PESTEL? Political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal. Okay, in our case, in UPSC case, political and legal are not separate, because we don't talk about legal aspect. Okay, whatever legal aspect for us is there, that is constitutional aspect, that we put under political only. But definitely these 5 are very important for us, which also we are able to combine together something as E and S is combined as socio-economic. It becomes 1. Your effective categories are 2 or 3, 4 only. 4 categories you have to think always, and take out 2 to 3 points in each. You'll get your answer. These are dimensions I'm talking about. Okay, all the 8 pointers that you have written, you can put it under one category or another. In this case, what all can be the categories I can talk about in this specific type of question? In this specific type of question, one more category is there which you can write as optional, that is physical. Physical is optional. Optional means applicable somewhere, not applicable somewhere. There would be maybe some physical impacts also, especially in the cases of geography, okay, and disasters. Always there would be some physical impact also. So that is one I have to include. Now in this case, what all are the categories I could have included is physical impact. What are the physical impacts of sea level rise and climate change on small island nations? First thing. Okay, second category can be socio-economic. Socio-economic. What else I can include from there? Environmental I can include, correct. Anything else? Absolutely. Geopolitical. Correct, because they have very clearly mentioned island nations. So island nations, it calls for geopolitical. Correct. Now we can think of the points. First you write this, then you start thinking of the points. Physical impacts. What can be physical impacts? Tell me. Under here, sea level rise. Absolutely, very nice. Saline water intrusion. Saline water intrusion. Saline water intrusion. Water table. That is a physical impact. Then another physical impact is coastal erosion. Coastal erosion. Coastal erosion is going to happen. Sea level rise is taking place. The inundation would be more. You would be reaching further inland. Coastal erosion. Physical हो गया. Socio-economic. Livelihood loss. Absolutely. How will you explain it? Source of income for? So you'll have to mention specific categories. Na? Fishermen, first thing. Impacts on fishermen. Secondly, agriculture also, for sure. The same pointer I'll connect. It is going to impact the freshwater availability, which is going to impact the agriculture. Second, anything else? Okay, but that's not livelihood. So let's put it as another point. Tourism would be impacted, no doubt in that. Tourism may you can specifically give the example of coral reef tourism. That can be given as the idea. Okay, then social impacts, displacement. Displacement and forced migration. Yahan this point will come ki coastal areas mein density of the population is higher. Correct. So they are forced to move. Forced migration, displacement. Socio-economic ho gaya. Environmental mein. Any impact of sea level rise on environment? Number of climate change, sea level rise. For island nations we are talking about, although you can include it. That is the reason. Impact. Olive ridley turtles can be one fact. Still I'm going with the small island nations. A very specific point is there. Think of it. Coral bleaching. Coral bleaching. Because there are a lot of small island nations, Pacific, okay, which have coral reefs and all, and there the sea level rises being impacting them. Maldives is another example. So coral bleaching and geopolitical. That would not be a result of sea level change. Na impact we are talking about. Existential question. Existential. Existential. Sovereignty. Sovereignty loss. Correct. And another important aspect is EEZ. Exclusive economic zone. There would be a reduction in exclusive economic zone then. So loss of EEZ. Correct. So these are the pointers. Now see how arranged the whole answer looks like. Now it starts making sense. Examiner is also happy. Okay, and you have whatever examples you have put here or there, you put Maldives over somewhere, X somewhere, Y somewhere. Okay, and your answer is complete. Conclusion already you have figured out. Okay, you write prescriptive one, you write critical one. Anything will do. Okay, critical mein ab you have the pointers, you will have much better idea. There may be critical when I was telling you that if global efforts are not directed towards solving this particular issue, then these island nations face the challenge of their existence itself along with XYZ. This is critical statement or prescriptive, that it is high time that XYZ should be done. Of prescriptive may you can use a lot of current affairs aspect. So prescriptive may generally think of current affairs, what has happened recently, जैसे loss and damage fund. You are talking about prescriptive, loss and damage has to come into picture. Technology transfer, okay, loss and damage. So these are the pointers you have to include. Correct? Got it? So this is the structure of this particular answer. Okay, my idea is whatever I am discussing, I am expecting that you all are going to write it properly. Okay, that is only how you will develop the confidence. And this is the first session. I am promising you, in the next 3-4 sessions, you will start feeling very confident about answer writing. So this is the structure. Now, along with that, here what it called for is correct, because so now if I go with my checklist, my structure is okay. Paragraphing I'll do properly because anyways I am categorizing it. So that is taken care of. Presentation mein diagram, flow chart, any other chart, okay, I can think of like a spider diagram. I can make impacts are, the spider diagram would look like impacts. Just this one can do physical, socio-economic, X and Y. You can, why not? Why not? It's all about on your innovation. Okay, I have told you the source, practice it from there. Something has to be added. Okay, so this can be taken care of. The reports, findings, I'll have to do that. Case study examples already we are using. Because so all the check boxes are ticked down. Just one remaining, that is substantiate, especially in these type of questions. And what would be the best would be IPCC report. Anyways, we prepare it. So IPCC ka, which is the most recent report? What number? AR? Arey nahi, AR. Assessment report? 6. AR 6, 2021 mein it was released. AR 6. So AR 6 ki report is the basis of all the questions actually. And you should know the important pointers of AR 6. Okay? So what I am doing is I am giving you the main pointers. Let's note it down. Likhiye. IPCC AR 6 2021. IPCC AR 6 2021. Under that, I have divided it into certain categories. First category, climate trends. Climate trends. Under climate trends, pointers. First point, global surface temperature. Global surface temperatures has already risen. Global surface temperatures has already risen by 1.1 degrees Celsius. By 1.1 degrees Celsius. Above pre-industrial levels. Above pre-industrial levels. Second pointer, global mean SST. Global mean SST. What is SST? Sea surface temperature. Sea surface temperature. So global mean SST has increased by nearly 0.88 degrees Celsius. 0.88 degrees Celsius since 20th century. And third pointer, human influence is the dominant cause of warming. Human influence is the dominant cause of warming. And fourth pointer, every region of the world is experiencing climate change impacts. Put a hyphen and write heat waves, heavy rainfall, droughts, cyclones. Droughts, cyclones. This is first category. Second category is sea level rise. Sea level rise. And right over there, global mean sea level rise, first point. Global mean sea level rise is now 3 to 4 millimeters per year. 3 to 4 millimeters per year compared to 1 to 2 millimeters per year in 20th century. So now you can see, you can mention it like in numbers. Numbers are always suggested, or I can see doubling. It has just doubled in 1 century only, the rate. Second pointer, likely rise by 2100. Put a hyphen and write 0.5 meters, brackets में low emission to 1 meters high emission. Yes. And third point, small island developing states, brackets में SIDS, faces quotes में high to very high risk of habitability losses this century. Now see, this is from where they ask the question. There has to be a source, and this is precisely the source. This is precisely what they have questioned now, just rephrased it. It is AR6 is saying habitability loss. They have rephrased it as the very existence of small island nation. Then next, ecosystems. Under ecosystems, first point, half of a species face extinction risk. Half of a species face extinction risk if warming crosses 2 degrees Celsius. Second pointer, crop yield of staples already declining in tropical regions, already declining in tropical region. And third pointer, coral reefs likely to decline (70 to 90%) at 1.5 degrees Celsius, 70 to 90% at 1.5 degrees Celsius, warming, 1.5 degrees Celsius warming, and almost completely at 2 degrees Celsius. Next, vulnerability and adaptation. इसमें लिखे most vulnerable groups, most vulnerable groups. Put a hyphen and write urban poor, comma, coastal population, comma, SIDS, and indigenous communities. Got it? So now if you see this particular statement, this is the potential question. SIDS already they have asked. So now you should be prepared for impact on urban poor, because the report is citing them. Impact on coastal communities, impact on indigenous communities. SIDS already has been asked. All the three you need to be prepared. The next point is also a potential question. Note down next point under the same category. Climate refugees likely to increase substantially. Climate refugees likely to increase substantially. So our next idea is what? What should be the question? What are climate refugees? What do you understand by climate refugees? How the current conditions of global warming and climate change is going to impact the climate refugee scenario. This is also what you should prepare. And then write adaptation gap under this only, vulnerability and adaptation. Adaptation gap. Adaptation gap. Put a hyphen and write finance, technology transfer, finance, technology transfer, and capacity building. And capacity building. This tells you the structure of the answer now, precise points. And then last one, which is very most important, mitigation pathways. Mitigation pathways. Mitigation pathways में first point, to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, comma, global GHG emissions, must fall 43% by 2030. ब्रैकेट्स में लिखिए वर्सेस 2019 लेवल्स. (2019) is the base year. From here 43%. Second pointer, net zero globally needed net zero globally needed around 2050. Net zero globally needed around 2050. And third point, current policies put us on track for 2.5 to 3 degrees Celsius warming by 2100. By 2100. Yes, you memorize it, all these points. If you have memorized any question, and every year you are going to get 1 or 2 questions from this section, the best answer you would be able to write. You have all of these pointers. Ready reckoner this is. Got it? So everyone comfortable with this first question? How to deal with this? Chaliye. Now let's move on to the second question. And second question read, what are tsunamis? How and where are they formed? What are their consequences? Explain with example. This was a very plain question. Okay. Plain question. First, the conclusion part. What type of conclusion you can use? Summary conclusion is one. Okay. Any other possibility looking at the language of the question? Yes. Because there is this word, consequences. Consequences are negative consequences. Tsunami ke negative consequences are there. So when negative consequences are there, I can have prescription. Correct? Prescription, forward looking, mostly prescriptive. So what I decide now, that my answer is more about disaster management. This is a geography question, but I'll convert it, the conclusion, into disaster management also, so that there is a interlinkage between paper 1 and paper 3. That's a holistic approach you talk about. So over here, what are tsunamis? First, introduction, I'll go with the definition itself. So definition mein, tsunami, just define it. Tsunamis are high energy waves, okay, resulting from sudden displacement, sudden vertical displacement of ocean waters, or high energy waves with high amplitude and lower wavelength hitting the coast, resulting from vertical displacement of ocean water. Second, no connecting paragraph is needed over here. This is a plain question. So directly I move to body. And in what are the sub parts of the body? Tell me. And where? First, we'll have to deal with this. How and where. So under the body part, I'll give the side heading how. And now I'm going to explain whole of the process. Explaining the process, what is the process behind tsunami? Okay, is the overall idea of a mega thrust over here. Okay, an earthquake generally of a magnitude greater than 7.5. This is called as mega thrust. Okay, once this happens, what I need is first of all a mega thrust, and second a vertical displacement of water over here. Because earthquake may cause horizontal displacement also, but for tsunamis I need vertical displacement. So when vertical vibrations are very dominant, the sea level rises over here, and as it subsides back, it generates waves, progressive waves which are moving out. ठीक है, concentric, in the form of concentric circles. It moves out from that center point. And these waves initially in the open oceans, it has large wavelength and less amplitude. But as it reaches the shore, here the term that you have to use is, because the depth is decreasing, shallow waters it is entering, friction impact would be there. This is what we call as feel the bottom. This term has to be used. But as the waves enter shallow waters, it starts feeling the bottom. As it starts feeling the bottom, friction will come into picture. And so the front portion, the leading portion of the wave would be stopped more. From behind the water will push, resulting in amplitude to be increasing, and the waves would be pushing from behind, so wavelength would be decreasing. Wavelength decreasing, amplitude increasing. This phenomena, what do we call this phenomena as? What is the name of this phenomena? This phenomena is called as wave shoaling. Wave shoaling. What do we mean by wave shoaling? The same, that when the waves start feeling the bottom, their amplitude increases and wavelength decreases. That's called as wave shoaling. And this wave shoaling ultimately results into very high amplitude waves, 15-20 meters high also in certain cases, okay, hitting the coast in the form of tsunami. Got it? Mechanism हो गया, diagram हो गया. Got it? After this, where? So where में Pacific ring of fire I am going to talk about. Okay, Atlantic Ocean में there are very less chances, because Atlantic Ocean rather is a little bit more free of earthquake. Okay, apart from the regions around Caribbean, Haiti and all. Okay, rest rather is more silent. But more importantly, the Pacific ring of fire, I'll tell other places also. Indian Ocean में भी होता है. So rather where में I'll put it in terms of plate tectonics. Subduction zones पे होता है. Underwater volcanic eruptions. How में, rather when you talk about where, you are going to include the causative distribution. Causative distribution, what can be the causes that can result in this? Underwater earthquake, subduction, underwater earthquake taking place. Okay, or underwater volcanism taking place, that also may lead to it. Or underwater landslide. Landslides are very frequent underwater, because the point where you have this shelf and slope pe you have the formation of submarine canyons. So there is very, very high chances of slope failures here. And so there is a lot of landslides that occur, especially in the case where the slopes are steeper. So underwater landslides also may result in this. And now I'll start giving the examples. The examples here, 2 examples necessarily have to be included. Which are those? Tsunami case में. First, 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, very, very important. So 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. Okay, and second, Russia Kamchatka plateau wala. Okay, the recent Kamchatka. Okay, that is another case. Rest will include under next part. So where में आपने Pacific ring of fire and XYZ everything you have told. And then next part I move on to, which is the consequences part. Consequences, what can I do again? Tell me. Yes, absolutely. That should be a ready template for impact, consequences, in fact, reasons. And that ready template of ours is what? Pestle. Tell me what all categories I can create in consequences. Just think, okay, take 10 seconds, or in fact, note it down. Okay, you write down just the pointers. Consequences of tsunami. Categorizing it, जो pestle format बताया. Done, everyone? Take time. चलिए, okay. Tell me now. Consequences में first category is physical. First is common, physical. What would be the pointers under physical? Physical is loss of life. Physical structures we are talking about. Coastal erosion. Same. Which one? Coastal erosion. You can put under environment also, but since I'm creating a separate category, that's why I'm writing. You can put it. So coastal erosion is one. Okay, again salinization is another. Property loss would fall under which category? Socioeconomic, na? Correct. Salinization, coastal erosion, that's one thing. Then second is socioeconomic. Here socioeconomic में social and economic, in fact I can separate because they are very pronounced one. You could have created one category also. Social में most importantly loss of life. Okay, can put it, no issues. Migration due to tsunami. No, generally it does not happen. Not a long-term phenomena, na? Once happens, done. Third, economic. Infrastructure loss, infrastructure damage, infra damage. Okay, livelihood again. Okay, livelihood mainly here again refers to the property loss only. Okay, जैसे fisherman के case में fisherman loses fishing nets, boats are destroyed and all, that impacts the livelihood. So in these cases you can keep giving examples. जैसे loss of life में Indian Ocean tsunami. Indian Ocean tsunami can be used. Okay, similarly, infra damage may a very important example is Fukushima. Technology is not something technological impact. Okay, did you lose the technology? Agricultural salinization you have written. You can add on over here, no problem in that. Extension of this only. Okay, but did it result in loss of technology? No, technology still existed. Okay, infrastructure you lost. Correct. So infra damage में Fukushima 2011. So 2004 was Fukushima was 2014. Fukushima was 2011. Cross check it again later. 2011, na? So Fukushima, Japan, 2011. IoT 2004, of course. And fourth, any other category? Environment. What would be the point? Again, coral reef, a major impact. And isme again you will give the example of Indian Ocean tsunami only. We have documented that. Okay, Maldives, you can use the example. Maldives had a major impact. So loss in crops you can include? Yes, absolutely. Why not? Crop loss. Habitat loss. Yes. Coral reef only, within that you can mention. So sufficient. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points already done. Oil spill in case. Mention not necessarily. Okay, but there are chances. So done, ठीक है. Consequences is good. So consequences you have mentioned over here with examples now. The next comes giving it a disaster management angle. Before conclusion itself I'll write, in fact. Okay, giving a disaster management angle, the whole idea is the response to these disasters when happened. Okay, most importantly, this one is very important. because just after this, in 2005, Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning and Mitigation System. So Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning and Mitigation System, okay, 2005, this was established. Marine pollution. Yes, yes, you can add. Okay, the only thing, see, the only thing is the whole of the question was not about basically consequences. There are a lot of parts. And what marker question was this? Okay, we'll check 150, 10 marker. If it was there, you don't have any scope. You will not have a space itself. The mechanism itself will take up a lot of space. How it happens? As in different. Which is, see, you have to go with common points only. Okay, don't deviate from common points. The only thing I am saying is substantiate it. That is the add-on which others are missing. Yes, so substantiating it whenever you are studying. Okay, now when you are revising geography, revise it with your internet on, not to again understand anything, but to find out at least 4 to 5 case studies. Cyclones पढ़ रहे हैं. Cyclones में think of cyclones, take out 4 to 5 cyclone names with year and possible impacts. जैसे Indian Ocean tsunami में somewhere around 2.5 lakh people died and missing. This is a number. If I remember it, okay, I can write a better answer than anyone else. Although no one is expecting you to know it, but if you know it, well and good. Okay, so that is what makes the difference. Don't try to deviate from the common points. Let it be common because they are the points. You can't do anything about it. Yes, got it? So we have Indian Ocean tsunami warning and mitigation system. Okay, that's one, 2005. And second, we have Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. PWS. So these are in place. So the existing framework you are going to mention in a paragraph, a small paragraph, just mention these two. It's an add-on. And then just go to the conclusion part, which you have already said. Prescriptive, with proper technologies, early warning system, the resilience of infrastructures, and most importantly, capacity building of communities. Okay, देखिए AR6 में भी this is what is written very important. For any disaster, capacity building of community is very important point. Where you train the communities how to respond to any disaster. Okay, make them resilient कि ठीक है, okay, अगर boat का loss हो गया है, then also how to manage. So that's something what you can mention. Got it? This is the conclusion of the second answer. Everyone noted down all the important points? So, देखिए, 150 words only. You have to write so much in that. You'll have to use the same graphical representation, charts and all, most importantly. Next question, give a geographical explanation of the distribution of offshore oil reserves of the world. How are they different from the onshore occurrences of oil reserves? This was economic geography question. Okay, 250 words in fact. No, this was a conventional question. Abhi tak ke liye, yes. First question was from AR6 directly. Okay, second and third are conventional geography questions. Okay, one they took from physical, one they took from economic. क्योंकि if I try to figure out some reason, I can. क्योंकि throughout the year there must have been some time when oil prices shock would have been there, but that would be unnecessarily finding the relation. So this is conventional question. Now, offshore oil reserves of the world. Before I tell you the structure, these can be surprise questions. Right? You may feel ki ha, I have not studied this at all. Distribution, you may figure out, no issues in that. Distribution generally we know. From our IR classes only we know कि कहाँ petroleum production is taking place, imports, exports, everything. So tell me first of all, let's go with the distribution part. What all distribution you know? One, Persian Gulf. Gulf region to known for petroleum reserves. Persian Gulf is one area. Then from IR classes, just think of western coast of India, let's say. Okay, but that's very less negligible. Gulf of Mexico part. Gulf of Mexico is second, I have got. Anything else? Think. IR mein hai sara. Coast of USA. Chalo, Gulf of Mexico say I'll connect it. Two regions done. Persian Gulf, Gulf of Mexico. Where is India having these relationships with for petroleum? Russia is one. Okay. Any other region? Very important when we talk about diversification. Venezuela and all part that would come under Gulf of Mexico region, that is done. Gulf of Guinea, absolutely. Africa. Remember India-Africa relationship. Okay, Indian companies are buying stakes over there. है ना? So, ONGC Videsh Limited, OVL. So, western coast of Africa, 4 मिल गया. एक और, one more, very important in fact. With respect to India-China conflict. Vietnam region. Okay, India is collaborating with Vietnam to find the resources over there, for which China has objected. Southeast Asia part right there from South China Sea se lekar. South China Sea mein bhi conflict is one about the EEZ, one thing, but another it is resourceful region. Yes, so that region right there from South China Sea towards south, okay, you have that region. Then major region ho gaya. Yes, everyone. So ye to from your common observation this is there. I am trying to tell you how to tackle these questions. Now you figure out these rather than panicking. But now they are talking about geographical explanation. Distribution to I have figured out. Explanation ke liye I'll go and think how petroleum is formed. What is the process of formation of petroleum? How is petroleum formed? Tiny marine organisms, when trapped on the ocean floor, their decomposition, partial, not complete. Okay, that leads to petroleum. Correct? Tiny marine organisms. So, in which regions this can happen more? Beneath ocean is one thing, that is always where it is found. Okay, but under what conditions? What would be favorable conditions for this? Tectonic activities are there. But tell me one thing, if the subduction is very active, isn't it the case all the sediments actually will go down with the subducting slab? This is more about passive continental margin, where plate margins are not there. subduction is not taking place, first thing. ठीक है, passive continental margin, that's one aspect. Second, the areas of thick sediment deposition, because this sediment deposition is going to press these. That's all of the idea, that the remains of these organisms should be trapped under the sediments, heavy load of sediments. Then pressure works. So then thick area of sedimentation, that's another aspect. Okay, abhi I'll dictate the points, don't worry. Okay, abhi just I am discussing this. That is second point. Third point, we have talked about sediments and trapping by them of the remains. But what about remains? Where remains are more? Ab remains are more, first tropical zone of course is where productivity is more. Environment ecology, think of principle of ecology part. Ecological productivity. Can recall anything about ecological productivity? Primary productivity, secondary productivity, gross productivity, net productivity. Productivity is where oceans have very high levels of productivity, overall production. And productivity increases with high temperatures. Warm temperatures are more suitable for production. So in this case, there can be two scenarios. First, latitudinal differences, where the tropical regions would have high productivity. So tropical regions have more of petroleum reserves, first thing. Okay, not only tropical, I am saying tropical region because of this reason. And second, paleoclimate has played a very important role. When you say paleoclimate, there have been earlier periods also when warming of the earth has taken place. It's not just now it is happening. Okay, earlier periods also. You have heard of this term carbon fertilization? Question came in prelims. Carbon fertilization. That's carbon sequestration. Carbon fertilization is nothing but the positive impact of increasing carbon in the water. Negative impact of increasing carbon in the water is ocean acidification. When the carbon dioxide increases in water, ocean acidification happens. Okay, but positive impact is there is more of carbon dioxide, more of photosynthetic algae can grow. So carbon dioxide is their food. So that is where the marine productivity increases actually. So if it is happening now, it has happened earlier also. And whenever this happens, warming happens, there are two aspects to it. First, when warming happens, marine productivity increases due to warm conditions. And so you have more marine organisms which can be converted into petroleum, correct? Secondly, and this is very important point, when the warming starts, ocean stratification becomes very rigid. Kaise dekhiye? The whole idea, you know about this deep water circulations and what we call as the global conveyor belt system. Global conveyor belt system में क्या होता है? Tell me. Underground. So conveyor belt system में what happens is the water. Do you guys have atlas? Geography class without atlas, बहुत बढ़िया. So in the North Atlantic Ocean, near Iceland, in the North Atlantic Ocean, as the water reaches there, it becomes cold. And because it becomes cold, it becomes dense, it sinks. And from there it flows underwater, subsurface. And comes over there, okay, again upwells in Indian Ocean also, in Pacific Ocean also. Comes back again to Atlantic Ocean, becomes cold, sink. And so there is a vertical as well as horizontal three-dimensional circulation which takes place. This is called as global conveyor belt system. Correct? Now this is very important a phenomena, upwelling and sinking. This is important because it allows the intermixing of the water, maintaining the uniformity, salinity, everything. And most important aspect is that the oxygenation of the bottom waters. Bottom water marine organisms also need oxygen. How will they get oxygen? Because the depth is 5 kilometers. Oxygen is added from by the process of diffusion from the atmosphere. So in this case, now what is going to happen is we have these waters and the depth of the water which is there. Now this water, it gets the oxygen from this process. When the water is downwelling, okay, this oxygen rich water reaches here. That is the oxygen supply for the marine organisms. Correct? Now I am saying what is happening, warming is taking place. When the warming happens, see, this downwelling was happening because this was cold water, became heavy. Okay? But now when the warming is taking place, this water remains warm. If it remains warm, will it become heavy? Warm water is light. So it will not sink. If the warm water will not sink, vertical intermixing will stop. That's what we call as a stratification. That ocean waters become stratified. Upper layer, lower layer, lower layer. Now when the lower layer is not getting any oxygen supply from upper layer, what will develop over here would be anoxic condition. Deficiency of oxygen. Anoxic condition agar ho jayega, then the marine organisms here will start dying. And all these dead marine organisms will settle at the bottom. This is going to result into petroleum formation. So the periods in the Earth's history when warming has taken place, that is the main period of petroleum formation. Correct? So in the earlier period, Mesozoic era mein it happened in the Gulf region, Persian Gulf region mein. Abhi in the present time, the same is happening in North Sea. Abhi North Sea may not be very rich region for petroleum reserve, but yes, given the process that is happening in the future, North Sea would be a petroleum rich region. This phenomena is taking place there. Getting the point? Yes? Understood the idea? No. Got it? So the vertical intermixing stops. So these are the geological factors, geographical factors. Continental shelf wide hoga, shallow hoga, then also it is possible. So there are a lot of factors, geographical factors, which determine it. And then the distribution. Then the another part, last part of the question they have asked, how are they different from the onshore occurrences of oil reserve? Onshore is right there on the shore. Offshore is on the continental shelf only, a little bit away from the shore. That is offshore. Onshore, offshore, main difference is in terms of the occurrences, the amount that you find. Okay, offshore has more of it. Because as you move more and more into the continental shelf, you will find more marine deposits, more pressure impact, more biomass. Okay, and that's where you will have more petroleum reserve. But on the top of that, extraction, when you talk about extraction, is much more cheaper and simpler in which case? Onshore. Agar onshore hai petroleum, because offshore mein it has to be deep water. So technology has to be employed. It would become costly extraction. Correct? As well as environmental impact difference is also there. There are very high chances of oil spills in case of offshore. Okay, you are doing it in deep waters. So offshore mein there are chances of oil spill. So 3-4 points just you write over here, your answer would be done. Okay? Got it everyone? So let's note down this structure. How much? See, 150 marks, so 150 words. 150 words you are, I'm coming to both of these. 150 words if you are talking about, you have somewhere around 8 minutes or so, 7.5 to 8 minutes. 250 words is around 12 minutes. Such question will take, of course, 15, 17 minutes it will take. So note down the structure. Introduction में note down. Offshore oil reserves. Beneath continental shelves, and shallow seas, contribute around 30%, of global crude oil production. Absolutely you can. Why not? Okay, this is when I'm telling you very ideal one. Okay, 95% probability you will not, it will not click there. This is post question. When I got the question, I created an introduction. But in that case, you will have to go with those type of introductions, current context or anything. Then write geographical factors. Geographical factors में first is plate tectonics and basin formation. Plate tectonics and basin formation. Put hyphen and write passive continental margins. Passive continental margins provide subsiding basins with thick sedimentary cover. Example: Gulf of Mexico, West Africa. Second, sedimentary basins. Second, sedimentary basin. Sedimentary basin. Put hyphen and accumulation of organic rich. Accumulation of organic rich source rocks. Source rocks. Example: North Sea Basin. Third, continental shelf morphology. Continental shelf morphology. Put a hyphen in it. Wide and shallow shelves. Example: Brazil. Fourth, paleoclimatic conditions. paleoclimatic conditions में लिखिए warm seas, warm periods rather, right? There are warm periods of sea creates ocean stratification and less intermixing of surface and deep waters, and less intermixing of surface and deep waters. First off, this creates anoxic conditions. This creates anoxic conditions in deep waters, resulting in death of marine organisms. Example, Persian Gulf. And last, tectonic stability. Put hyphen on it. Stable margins allow long-term preservation of oil-bearing stratas. Okay, then will come distribution basic. Okay, distribution regions already I have told you. Onshore offshore differences. Onshore offshore differences में economic आ जाएगा. Okay, cost of extraction. Occurrence आ जाएगा. Where it occurs. Okay, deep waters में मतलब shallow water shelf पे और right there at the coast. And environment आ जाएगा. Oil spill aspect. Technology आ जाएगा. Okay, so those differences also can be dealt with. Now, what type of conclusion this answer can have? This, there is no other way out. You have to have summary conclusion only. There is nothing you can do over here. So, summary conclusion is where that hence the paleoclimatic conditions as well as the geography of the region determines the availability of petroleum in any region. That's a basic summary conclusion. Okay. Graphical representation would be, in this case, of course, has to be map. No other way out. Map and distribute. The world map has to be. Okay, got it? So 3 questions we have discussed now today. Okay, that's it for today's session. Okay, from the next sessions we'll have more questions to discuss, because today 1 hour I have discussed only the strategy, how to write the answer and all. From the next session we can directly jump into that. You will also have more smooth flow. Okay, but you have to make sure that you are attending it regularly, not with the gaps. Okay, prepare 6 days on your own. Okay, Sunday keep it for answer writings and all. And if you keep doing that, you can just understand. See, in next session, I'd possibly cover 6 to 7 questions. So every week, if you are having a discussion of 6, 7, 8 questions and you are writing it, you are well on track with respect to answer writing. And eventually you get to learn a lot of things also. This was almost a sort of class. Not just about telling you what to write. Okay, the concept behind also that we are discussing. So you will have to ensure your regularity. That's it. Okay, nothing more than. Okay, चलिए, so let's meet next week now. We'll continue with this discussion, these discussions, and we'll have different subjects. Subjects also will keep intermixing, although because today I have not been able to cover much because of the first 1.5 hour. Okay, so next Sunday also probably I only am going to take, and then we will introduce another subject. We'll keep shuffling. Yes, yes, absolutely. Every subject will keep shuffling. Okay, 5-6 questions 1 week, this subject, that subject, so that eventually we are targeting at least to cover 5-6 years question, last 5-6 years, because given every subject, I don't think in the year we would be able to discuss more than that. But even that would be a lot to cover. 18 to 500 questions if has been discussed with you and you have written, that's a good deal. Okay? So write it. If you want, you can get it checked after that. But write it properly. Okay. Get a notebook specifically for this. Okay, those answer writing sheets wala. Write properly in those. Okay? Chaliye. Let's meet next week then. Thank you.